Hi Virgo, this is your reading for the week of February 17th to 23rd. Now, the first image that I get is of you sitting on a couch with a sandwich in your hand, and you're eating like a little kid would eat. You're eating all the inside, but you're not eating any of the crusts. And you're nibbling away, and you're watching around like, is anybody going to come for my sandwich? Or is anybody watching what I'm doing? There's a sense of being watched, but sort of being watched, like you're aware of it, but at the same time you're kind of really engrossed in this sandwich. And then you get to a point where you've eaten all the insides, but you're still hungry. So then you finally eat the crusts. And as you eat the crusts and the sandwich is gone, it's like you sit up and you look around and you go, okay, what's next? And I feel like that's where you're at right now, is you've eaten the insides. You had to go back and eat the crust, which wasn't exactly what you wanted to do, but you still were hungry. And now you're still hungry. It was just a sandwich and there wasn't much in it. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that's where you're at right now, that some of you are looking at things in your life or where things in your life have brought you. And there's a certain sense of, is that all there is? What have I been missing out on? And I feel like a lot of it is heart. I feel like a lot of it is real pleasure of letting someone into your life. And I did not know that's where this reading was going. But this is very much what I'm getting now as I'm doing this read. So of course it won't be for all of you. But really what I'm feeling is that you have kind of gotten into, I feel that for many of you, there were issues with your childhood that kind of led you into feeling as though you needed to be of service. And not necessarily of service as in, I'm going to save the world, but that when somebody demanded something of you, it was really difficult for you to say no. That there was, interestingly enough, a kind of rebellion against your childhood, but at the same time, well, they say what we resist, we give life to. So in a lot of ways, what I feel is though, even though there might have been resistance against some of the things in your childhood, I feel like a lot of the impact of your childhood carried with it a propensity to perhaps be of service in a way that did not always allow for your heart to be delighted and fulfilled. Giving over to others, doing what was right, doing what you needed to do. And needed to do, it might have been needed to do because you needed to work, because you needed to support a family, because you needed to live in this place. In order to live here, you needed to do that. Like things that needed to be done. But in the process of this, what I feel is though, you have not always let yourself stand up and do what you wanted to do. There's often been that sense of, I can't. And that was not always a position that allowed you to be enjoying yourself. Like not deeply. I'm talking about deeply enjoying yourself. Because Virgo, of course, you can enjoy things. You're not cardboard. But what I'm getting of a sense here is that there has been almost like a wall beyond which some of you have found it difficult to let the pleasure of being loved in. That it's been about duty, it's been about getting things done, it's been about some kind of service in some way. And also there's a kind of pride in that's who you are. So it was almost like that kind of bolstered you into maintaining this story. But now you're being asked, Virgo, would you really check in with what you want? Check in with where your heart is, because I feel as though there's a lot of remorse around how you've experienced love in your life, what you've let in. And I really do feel a lot of that goes back to what happened in childhood, whether it was a direct relationship because of your parents, whether or not it was trauma in some other way. It feels to me like there was not a lot of room in your life as a child to really open up to that sense of being loved. So you're being asked now to really look at everything that makes you feel good, that allows you, that is a compliment, that is a kindness, that is a gift. If it's benign, if it's kind, say yes to everything, because I feel like this now is a time for you to really start opening your energy up. You know, you've done a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. You've done a lot of work. I feel like this is the next step of you to be able to come out and really appreciate things, because the cool thing is you've already started looking at the possibility of living life differently, feeling love differently, maybe letting love in for the first time. And it's still really scary. It can still be really, really scary for you. So start slowly and just start opening up to anything. I'm going to read you the yes card because I think this is a really good place for you to start. For those of you who would like to open up but are feeling a little scared of it, say yes, thank you to everything harmless or beneficial that anyone offers you, even if you don't need or want it. You can pass it along to someone else or graciously take a rain check. Is it a compliment? Say thank you and then soak it in. Okay? You got to remember that our patterns of protection are based in our thoughts, and our thoughts have created neural patterns in our brain that lead us to tend to think that way again. So if you are living in a guarded state, it's going to feel completely natural for you to stay guarded, because when you start challenging those neural pathways, when you start shifting, which you have been doing, it's natural for your system to kind of go back and reflect on that as part of the process of change. It really is physiological. It really is happening at a cellular level. So what you're really being asked to do is remind yourself what pleasures you would like, what that might be if you didn't have any restrictions, if you could have anything that you wanted. And let yourself just imagine it. And it might be like really huge and grandiose, and it might be just really small. Like, you know, I would just really like to have just a nice partner that I could go to movies with twice a week. It might be something small. And it might not even be about partnerships. It might be, you know, I think I'd really like to take up painting. Or it would be really wonderful if I could retire in 2 years and do this. It doesn't matter. Just start expanding wherever you find yourself thinking about something, and then you stop and say, no, it couldn't possibly be, or I could never have that, or I couldn't do that, or people wouldn't want that for me. Just stop it and go, oh yeah? Well, what if I thought I could, or they would, or what would that look like then? So this is engaging your imagination, okay? And really move towards whatever is yes, and check in. When you start doing this imagination process, how does that feel in you? Does it give you an increased sense of pleasure? And how do you feel about pleasure? Like, is pleasure okay? Do you find yourself resisting pleasure? Is there somehow something not noble about that? Or it means you won't be functional, you know, you'll become hedonistic. Well, you know, you might. You're an earth sign, but I don't think so, because you work. Okay. It's not going to leave you abandoned if you just decide to incorporate pleasure in your life. Pleasure, doing anything with heartfelt pleasure, healthy heartfelt pleasure, generally tends to make people a lot more productive. People who are happy at work, and the statistics prove this out, produce more and produce better quality. So, what about if that becomes your modus operandi now? Pleasure. Pleasure's the way to go. And love, look, you got love. Okay, so listen, Virgo. Bottom line here. You've done a lot of the work. You're looking over at what the possibilities might be. Expand what that is. Check in when you think about it. Does it give you pleasure? Do you start resisting when you think about having pleasure? Do you start resisting with the idea of opening up to something and saying yes to having more in your life? Can you at that point go, okay, this is just part of the old neural pattern process. It's not what I want. I'm going back to what pleasure is. I'm going back to allowing pleasure in my life. I'm going back to the idea that I deserve love and I can receive love. And I'm going to let my pride get out of the way and say, you know what? maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe all this time I've been protecting myself and thinking I had to work so hard and deprive myself. Maybe I wasn't right. Okay. What in me can I change in order to make a change in my life? What have I been blind to in myself that I could change that would allow me to open up more? Stay in touch with what you're feeling. Be honest with yourself about what you're feeling and start saying yes as a way to start changing the energy and start changing those neural patterns. Okay, Virgo? It's all here. Just apply it. Okay? Take care.